All right, so you are here because obviously you want to have a successful photography business. I'm going to teach you 7 tips, but really they are more than just tips. These are going to be in-depth categories to help teach you how to have a successful business. And this is coming from my own experience. I know there are other experiences out there, people teaching other things, but these are things that have been successful, that have become true for me. And I think that they're going to help you out in your own journey. So I really want to go through them, help you figure some things out. I've split them up into chapters below. So maybe you want to skip around, you can do that by finding the appropriate chapter and jumping to that. But I'm going to start with what I think is probably most important and what's probably on most of your minds, and that is, how do I start getting clients? So number 1 is, how do you find your first clients? All right, so to start this off, I'm gonna pull from my own experience because I feel like that's the most appropriate way for me to be able to teach you how to find clients and to really maybe spark some ideas within your own head. So how did I start getting clients nearly 8 years ago? And first and foremost is really your network. And you may have heard that other places, and it's really true. You've gotta start with your network, the people that you already have relationships with. And why is that? The reason for that is because most times within this industry, people are going to buy from people that they know, and not only people that they know, but people that they trust. So you have to start with your network because that's going to be people who know you and people who probably already trust you. So a lot of my network and a lot of my friends at the time were deeply rooted within my church. And so that ended up being some of the first clients that I found. Maybe there was a family that I shot portraits for, or maybe it was somebody who worked at a school and I went and shot some photos for their school, or somebody who owned their own business and I was able to go and work for them. Within that group, I had already built up a good rapport and good trust with those people, so they knew in some ways what they were getting. Maybe because I was brand new at photography, they didn't know exactly what they were going to get in terms of the photos, but they knew that they could trust me, that I was going to be somebody who would at least come through, I would deliver something. And because I had a little bit of a portfolio in the very beginning, they knew that my photos were not gonna just totally suck. So I had rapport, I had trust, and then they knew that I was going to deliver something. So that is where I had to start, and that's where you have to start. You have to start with your own network of people that you know right now. So you need to think about, where are you involved? Which groups are you involved in? Where do you hang out? Where do you spend time? You know, maybe for some of you, it might be a gym that you hang out at. Maybe you do CrossFit. That would be a perfect opportunity for you to start taking photos at that gym, creating content for that gym. Or maybe you go hang out at a restaurant or a bar and you can take photos there. Or maybe you have other hobbies and other interests. Consider where your network is and where you can start creating content for those people. I will tell you, whether it's a gym or it's a restaurant or it's some other hobby, those people probably are trying to create their content on their own. And what you could do is immediately elevate that content by coming in and saying, hey, what would it be like for me to take several shots? What would it be like for me to start creating some content for you guys on a regular basis and allow me to have that opportunity to start building my portfolio? And while you're doing work for your network, I wouldn't get so focused on niching down at this point. A lot of times people talk about the riches are in the niches, and oftentimes people try to niche down too soon, and that's a problem. Don't get too niche specific too soon. Be more of a generalist. Take family portraits, take product photos, do event photography, do whatever kind of photography you have the opportunity to do, because as you start to do that, you'll find your lane, you'll find your niche, you'll find opportunities where more and more people are willing to pay you, and you'll start to get into that groove, you'll start to get into that niche. All right, let's dive into the second one, and that piggybacks off the first, and let's talk about retainer clients. Because getting retainer clients is where you really start to elevate your business, you really start to grow your revenue and your profit, and you really start to build a sustainable business. So what do I mean by retainer clients? Retainer clients are clients that commit to a contract with you, whether that's 6 months or whether that's annually. These are clients who say, we see the value in the work that you do, and we trust you to do the work for us. We want to commit to a certain amount of work, to a certain amount of money, during a certain period of time. Often for me, it is an annual contract. We want you to do this amount of work, or we have this amount to spend. How much work could we get for that amount of money? And yes, I have contracts that are in the tens of thousands of dollars, and that's what allows me to truly have a sustainable business, a successful business, and a business that is thriving for me. But how do you get retainer clients? How do you even get the opportunity to have retainer clients? You're not going to get retainer clients quickly. Just understand that. It's probably going to take at least a year and a half to build a relationship with clients before you get to a retainer style relationship. And the reason for that is that retainer clients have to get to two spots. They have to see the value that you offer, and they have to fully trust that you're a dependable vendor. And the only thing that really allows for those two things to happen is time. There's really no way to speed it up. People can't be sped up in terms of trust and in terms of value. They have to come to a point where they know the value is worth it for their organization, or the value is worth it for their business or their nonprofit or whoever you're working with. The only thing that will allow you to be able to get to that point is putting in the time and effort, building the relationship, building and communicating the value. And then, again, that's going to take a year and a half in time. Once you get to that point, it's going to be a much easier sale. Again, I have contracts that are tens of thousands of dollars, and closing those contracts with retainer clients was very easy. Why was it easy? Because the value was already proven, because I had done work for them for several months, in most cases over a year. So the value was already proven. They had seen the work, they had seen how my photography worked for them and saw how valuable it was for their organization. And then two, they knew how dependable I was because they had worked with me, they had given me deadlines, I had fulfilled those deadlines, my work was really good, it was on time, I showed up on time, I did exactly what they wanted, or maybe I did more than what they wanted. I pushed the boundaries a little bit and delivered something that they hadn't even expected. That is proving your worth, proving your dependability, proving your trust. So yeah, to have a successful photography business, you've got to move to a point where you have retainer clients. It's going to be difficult to map out your revenue and expect certain revenue and certain profit if you're only doing one-time projects. Yes, I still have a lot of one-off projects, but I have retainer clients that I can rely on and expect this is the amount of revenue each month that is guaranteed. And that is so important for building a thriving business. So you need to get retainer clients, and retainer clients are only going to come by doing the work over the course of time. And that's probably at least a year, and building that relationship and building that trust and showing them that you're dependable, and then it will be an easy sell. All right, third, let's talk about pricing. And this is something that everybody is thinking about, considering. This is something that is always in flux. Pricing should always be changing. It should always be moving up as you're getting better and better. So it's something that you need to reevaluate over and over and over again. If you are a beginner, I highly encourage you to try to, at least from the very get-go, charge $50 an hour. Yeah, you heard me right. Try to charge $50 an hour. Respect yourself, respect your worth, and tell people by that price that they also need to respect your worth. The reality is these days is content is king. Content in all forms, photography, video, written content. It's so important for every single brand, every single organization, whether it's for-profit or nonprofit, everybody needs content. So if you're delivering really good content, you need to make sure your prices tell people that it's worth something. So if you're a beginner and you have something to show for yourself, start at least $50 an hour, and I would encourage you to take it up from there pretty quickly once you've proven yourself. Now you need to understand within pricing there are a lot of factors, and one of the most important things is you have to understand and calculate your costs. So if you're just arbitrarily setting a price for what you're doing and you're not taking into consideration your cost, you could be ruining your profit margin. And that's a big deal because you don't want to just be breaking even. You want to be paying yourself. You want to be putting some money into your business and saving some money for your business for whatever you want to do in the future. That's why I calculate my costs. What am I spending? What are my subscriptions? How much does my gear cost? How much does my vehicle cost and my fuel cost when I'm traveling around doing these jobs? Just what are my operational costs? What does it purely cost me to operate as a photographer? And how much do I need to make? And how much do I need to make to cover those costs, but then to have a profit on top of that? So for me, I have an hourly rate that covers those costs, and then it provides me a good profit margin. Now, I don't typically communicate the hourly rate to my client directly. What I do is I just use my hourly rate as a way to estimate how much a project should cost. So this is how I use my hourly rate when a client comes to me and says, we want to have you on site for 4 hours to do photography. Then I consider, okay, those 4 hours multiplied by my hourly rate is one part of that project. Then I'm gonna think about how long is it gonna take me to drive to that client and drive back? How long is it gonna take me to edit the photos and upload the photos? And then I typically build in a little bit of time for communication and planning, exchanging emails, getting on the phone, planning a few details with them. That's probably going to be at least an hour, very minimum, at least an hour of time. So I'm considering all those things, 4 hours on site, 1 hour for communication, maybe 3 hours for edits, all of those things, and then multiplied by my hourly rate. And again, I'm not telling the client specifically this is my hourly rate. I'm just estimating how long that project is going to take. And if I don't know how long that project's going to take, I'm going to ask the client more questions. How long do you expect me to be on site? How long do you want me to be on site? Is there going to be additional photography in the future? Do you want me to come out and cover something else? Do you foresee any other things changing? Are we going to change locations? Is it going to require this or that? Are you going to want high res images and then low res images? It's going to take me a little bit more time to deliver both of those. You need to be asking questions so that you can have clarity when you're estimating and when you're pricing out your projects. Now, I will tell you, closing photography jobs between $1,000 and $3,000 is pretty easy for me. Once it gets beyond $3,000, it's not impossible at all, but a lot of times there need to be more conversations, there needs to be more details around what the client's going to get. There's got to be more specific and more communication. Maybe I'm even writing up a nicer proposal for things that are over $3,000. Those jobs, again, are not out of the question. A lot of times it just requires a little bit more in the sales process to close those deals. But I would say jobs in the $1,000 to $3,000 range are very easy for clients to stomach. They see the value, they understand it, and I close those deals all day long. And it's pretty simple for me. And again, I'm using my hourly rate, I'm taking what the client is giving me and their expectations for the job, multiplying that by my hourly rate, and maybe even sometimes building in a little bit of buffer, and then that's what I'm delivering to the client in terms of an estimate. And my estimates, they're nothing crazy, they're nothing fancy. It's just purely I'm listing out everything that I'm going to do, and here's the price for it, and clients accept it all the time. All right, the fourth thing is communication. How should you be communicating with clients? The reality is that everybody utilizes two things. That is email and texting. All clients have an email, and all clients have a phone that they can text on. And those are the two most popular ways that I communicate with clients. I don't try to get them to communicate in ways that they don't already communicate. So I'm not gonna say, hey, I have Slack. Would you jump into Slack and use Slack to communicate with me? No, it's just not going to work. Clients don't like having to adopt new communication tools for a vendor of theirs. Instead, you need to work within their framework. You need to use the tools that they already use. So like I said, everybody already uses email, and I'm sorry if you don't like email, but you've got to work within email because everybody uses it. And then the second one that honestly has become really important and really useful for me is texting my clients. So the sooner that you can get your clients to text you, honestly, it's gonna be better for your business. And why is it gonna be better for your business? It's gonna be better because text almost becomes more personal. It becomes almost more like a friendship. And you want to get to that point with your clients of feeling more like a friend than just a vendor. And I know that might feel weird and might kind of feel silly, but that's going to help you have a successful business. Feeling more like a friend to a client is going to allow them to trust you more. And again, like I said before, the more that they trust you, the more they're going to hire you out, the more they're going to be willing to spend with you. It's just going to have a lot more benefit for you. So if you're scared of that, I would encourage you to try and overcome those fears of texting clients. It's useful. It's helped grow my business. I text, I would say almost 90% of my clients, and it's more beneficial that way. I get out of my email inbox. I don't miss emails because quite honestly, we don't often miss that many texts. Communication is much faster within text. I can get feedback a lot faster. And again, it just feels more friendly. It just feels more personable than an email does. All right, number 5 is delivery. How should you deliver your photos? how do I deliver photos to my clients? Well, I deliver most of my photos through Dropbox. And the reality is that most of my clients are already using Dropbox. And that's the important factor, is you want to use tools that your clients are already familiar with. You don't want to use a photo delivery service that they don't know how to work and they don't understand. Although there are photo services out there that deliver them really nice and really neatly, the problem with that is people don't understand how they work. They're not used to them. So I would encourage you, rather than getting your client to use something that you prefer, you deliver in the format that the client prefers. Instead of trying to move them to something else, you work within their own framework. And that's why I use Dropbox, because I would say 75–80% of my clients already use Dropbox. And if they don't use Dropbox, they probably use like Microsoft or they use Google. So I would encourage you, rather than delivering in your preferred method, deliver photos in a way that makes sense for the client, and it's going to be most beneficial for them to be able to pull those photos and use those photos, because that's the problem. If the client can't pull the photos effectively, if they can't use the photos effectively, then why have the photos at all? If there are any roadblocks like that within your client experience, your client will not come back to you in the future. And obviously that's not what you want. You want your client to keep coming back. So make sure that you utilize tools they already know how to use and you can work within their framework. All right, number 6 is marketing. And in my own experience, the most powerful marketing tool that I had from the very get-go was my own website, building a portfolio on my own website. I didn't have a ton of people who hired me just from social media. Although I think it is good to build out your social media, I wouldn't put all of your effort into your social media, because when I'm meeting people and networking with people, they're always asking for my website. They're not always asking for what my social media is. And once they go and see my website and they see my portfolio on my branded website, that's where people typically hire me from. So I would spend most of your time focusing on building out a good website. Your website doesn't have to be super complicated. It doesn't have to be really expensive. You don't need to go out and hire a designer and spend thousands of dollars building out a crazy website. I would encourage you to use something like Squarespace or Wix, something that's not going to be expensive, but it's going to allow you to put your work in a nice and neat format online, and it's going to be branded for you. And then you can send the link to your website out to people as you network with them, because that's going to be the best way to follow up with people. Is once you meet people, once you talk to them, you want to be able to follow up with them and say, hey, here's the link to my portfolio. And after I do that, after I send that in an email or send that in a text and people see my work, the next thing that they ask me is, okay, great. When can I hire you? Or how much would it cost to do this? It always comes from me showing them my portfolio, showing them my website. Again, I just want to reiterate that. There's so much pressure on ourselves these days to build out our social media and make sure our social media is dialed in, when the reality is, for me at least, I've gotten most of my business from my website, from having a really good portfolio built out on my website. So I would encourage you to put more effort into your website than putting more effort into social media. All right, number 7, and this one's gonna be, I guess, a little bit controversial for some people, and that is utilizing Lightroom presets. I edit all of my photos in Lightroom, and I utilize presets to speed up my editing workflow. I've found presets from other creators out there who've taken the time to design really, really nice presets, and I take those and I use those as just a baseline grade for all of my photos. And then from that baseline, I take those photos and I tweak them even more to make them more appropriate for my style and the style that the client is wanting. Again, this is maybe just controversial because some people may not believe in presets and other people may believe more in presets, but I believe taking presets that are designed really, really well, buying those and utilizing those within your editing workflow, it has always sped me up. It's always allowed me to edit my photos much, much quicker, to get all of my photos to a nice, clean, consistent baseline, and then I just tweak from there based on each individual shot. So I would encourage you to make your process more efficient and more effective. And again, that's kind of the name of the game of having a successful business. You've got to get more efficient, because the more efficient you get, the less amount of time you spend per project. And as you increase your price, then you have a much bigger margin per project. And as your margin grows, your business grows, because you have more money in your business, you have more money to pay yourself, you have more money to invest, and that's what you want. And that's what presets do for me. It allows my editing time to almost be cut in half, or be cut by a significant amount of time. That's why I love presets. I don't just love presets because of specific looks and things like that. I love presets because it allows me to have the look that I want in a much quicker amount of time, and I can spend less time editing and more time doing other projects. So I would encourage you, take the time to find presets that align with the style that you want to be known for, the style that you want to deliver to clients. Spend the time and don't spend cheaply on your presets. Buy presets that are created really, really well. Buy presets that people have taken years to craft and design and make sure that it's going to be really, really good. For some people, it might be controversial, I don't know. But I would encourage you, again, for me, I'm trying to find ways to be more efficient, be more effective with my time, because when I'm more efficient and more effective with my time, then when I'm more efficient and more effective with my time, I can take on more projects, and as I take on more projects, I can make more money and I can do more things within my business. All right, so that was a pretty packed, pretty deep dive into several different categories, and I really hope that benefited you. I really hope wherever you're at within your journey, especially for beginners, I hope that's helping set you on the right trajectory. I hope that's giving you insight into the business of photography, and I hope that's going to encourage you and spur you on to go further with your business. I only dreamt of having a six-figure photography business and videography business. I only dreamt of that. Like, that was just a dream for me several years ago. But then it became a reality for me. 3 years ago, I made quite a bit over six figures for my first year doing it on my own, and it just totally blew my mind. And so that's why I'm taking this information that I've learned over the last 8 years and the last 3 years of having my own business and trying to teach you that, because I want to encourage you that it is possible. It's totally possible, and it's possible on a minimal setup. It's possible for you to do it by yourself, maybe with just a little bit of help here and there from some contractors, but you can make six figures by yourself, doing something that you love, using a camera every single day. It's absolutely possible. So I hope this video has been encouraging to you, and if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. I would love that. I'd appreciate it. And I would appreciate even more if you've enjoyed this content and want to see more of this kind of content, to hit that subscribe button. Again, check out the chapters below if you want to go back and review some things. Hit those chapters, go back, and then drop comments below, and I will be in the comment section answering any comments that I can. And yeah, guys, hope this was super helpful, and I'll see you all on the next video.